You're listening to Inside the Village, where all news is local and no topic is off limits.
So help me, Bob, it's bully in the alley. Hey, bully in the alley. So help me.
Welcome back to Inside the Village, part 2 of our year-ender, the year that was 2023. I'm Scott Sexsmith alongside Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media. Derek Turner, executive producer of the show, is in the room. Last week, great show. Kind of the tougher stuff that we cover. This week, though, is the lighter side and a little more of the fun elements to what we do day in and day out.
Sure, it's like I talked about last week. It's kind of what I like the most about the show. We can cover those really hard-hitting stories that people are talking about, the big news of the day, and then sometimes we cover the softer news of the day. It'd be a funny story or an issue that's people are talking about, but it's definitely not going to change their lives. But it's really interesting, and it's also fitting that we have this new desk in here. I think it's kind of like a soft launch.
New chairs, new desk, a little small. Yeah, feel like I've been called away from the adults table. And
yeah, it's a little, but it's perfect. I feel like this is a great change to the studio. I mean, we maybe should have launched it in week 1 of the new season, but I like that we did a soft launch to kind of test it out in the lighter side episode. It's like make sure we have a feel for it. But I like it a lot. It's an easier chair to get into, and I feel like I'm not as hunched over as I was in those big high chairs.
And the best part is we've got a little more room in here because you can't tell on TV, but it's a very narrow room.
Yeah. Is it a narrower table? Yeah, it's because I feel like
the
we're
table
not quite
is
up
smaller.
against the wall.
We can stretch out. Oh yeah,
that would be lying down by the end of the show.
Fantastic.
It's great. No, it looks great. Good job, Derek. It's clean. Finally, a clean table.
And
too.
it is clean. Yeah.
The other one's a little dirty.
I mean, God forbid we clean the.
And we can see. Yeah, we got the village.
We got it all.
Can you see that, Derek? That's good.
Yeah. Little product placement.
Good. Well, no, it looks great. Guess we are having another season.
We are having another season. You know what this table didn't cost was $48 million. But if it did, we know somebody who could have foot the bill for us.
Well, that was one of the best stories. That was one of my favorite all-time episodes of Inside the Village. Just to recap and remind everybody that there was early in the year, the OLG put out a release saying that someone in Sault Ste. Marie had won the big $48 million jackpots, one of the biggest jackpots ever for Lotto 649, right? The Gold Ball. Gold Ball. So there's a lot of anticipation about who has won this, and they put out a release saying, hey, someone in the Sioux had won. And within minutes, people's phones were blowing up in here because people kind of heard, and this was the best part of the story, it was all younger people telling their parents, oh, I know who won the lottery because it was this 18-year-old girl from the Sioux. And so we tried to track her down, but she was, hunkered down at that point because they're trying to get everything in order and figure things out. But Derek, amazingly, knows the family well and had spoken to them and told them, if you are going to speak and you're going to do an interview, you should come inside the village. And it was one of those great moments where Juliette Lamour had announced her press conference in February, right? It was early February.
Yep. She
had a press conference around the corner at OLG, told the world about her big victory. So she's finally been identified. And then an hour later, her family walks in here, comes downstairs, and here we are in the studio with Derek and everybody just chatting. And it was because it was a huge story. Like people love the lottery, right? Yeah. And here you have this 18-year-old who buys her first ever ticket because her grandfather, who played the lottery forever, tells her to. So she goes and buys a ticket and she wins like the Gold Ball, $48 million, right? And it was just such an enjoyable conversation because it was a super positive story. She's a great person, and it was a great scoop for us to have that kind of interview.
Yeah, 2 things stick out to me. One was you mentioned that Juliette was 18, had never bought a lottery ticket before, and if I recall, and Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, had to FaceTime her grandfather because she wasn't sure of the process. Her dad.
Yeah,
her
she
dad?
FaceTimed her dad.
Okay, wasn't sure of the process of buying a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
What do I do? What do I say?
I know.
And then, turns out that she wins $48 million. The other thing, and I remember it like it was yesterday, we were getting set to tape a different episode in here. And, of course, as you mentioned, the entire city was talking about, this big lottery winner.
The whole province, that was huge news.
And there was some hint of the last name, and I remember saying to Derek, is she related to, because there's a connection, and of course he just puts his head down. So, if you ever need a secret kept, and he wouldn't make eye contact with either one of us, because it's like he knew that we knew that he knew, but he wasn't.
Well, it was funny because I think even the week before, because it was about a month between the win and
right,
play.
yeah,
and we had conversations down here about it. Going, could you imagine who that? And Derek was just sitting over there in the corner,
whole time,
not saying a word.
No, he was strangely quiet.
Canary. Yeah. Interesting. We should do an episode on that.
Yeah, we
Derek,
should.
Can't trust Derek.
That's right. Behind the scenes with Derek Turner.
No, it was a great interview. I'd encourage, we're going to show a snippet of it here, but it's definitely, if you're going to go back and watch any episode of Inside the Village, that's the one to start with. It was
absolutely a delightful young lady, wonderful family, and it couldn't have happened to anyone better than it did to Juliette Limour. So let's fast forward now to when it was announced that a Sault Ste. Marie resident had won. And maybe take us through that story. I understand you were at work and a few of your coworkers were frantically checking tickets.
Yeah, so I was working. I work at Rexall Pharmacy on Trunk Road, and I just come back from my 15-minute break, and I came back, and all of my coworkers were like, "Oh my God, you just missed all the excitement." I'm like, "What do you mean? What happened?" And they're like, "Well, there was announced that someone in Sault Ste. Marie won the big jackpot." And they're like, "So we were checking our tickets. We thought we won the lottery." I'm like, "Oh, the 649 one?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, pull out of my purse. I have one." So the pharmacist checked it on his phone, and sure enough, it came up, winner Gagna. I won the $48 million, and everyone just went crazy. Like
that's mind-boggling. Just to remind everyone, what happened was the OLG put out a press release on that Sunday, right, saying, "Hey, folks, someone in the Sioux is the winner of this $48 million
Check
prize."
your tickets.
So everybody was going. I mean, even when that story was posted on Sioux Today,
right?
Everybody, I think, in town clicked on that because they wanted to see what had happened. So you're at work, that happens. So who'd you call first?
I called my mom, and I was like crying. I didn't really know how to react, but I was crying. I was scared. I'm like, "Mom, I won the lottery." And she couldn't understand me. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I won the lottery." She's like, "No, you didn't." And my coworkers are in the back. They're like, come to work. Come and get her." And the first thing they told me to do was sign the ticket. So I signed the ticket right away, and I gave it to my mom. I'm like, "I can't lose this. Don't fold it. Don't anything. Just take it home." And she's like, "You're staying for your shift. You're staying until 5. I'm like, "Okay."
Okay, from one big winner to another big winner, Sault Ste. Marie hometown boy Michael Amadio, star with the Vegas Golden Knights back in June, won his first Stanley Cup.
Yeah, this is another great example of sort of the small town connections, right? I think it was you that worked some connections to get him to come on our show. Is that right? Yeah, which was great, right? And I was super proud he's got it. No, it wasn't awesome. It was great.
I bring something to this. I got to do something.
You bring tons to the table. But I think you'd said to me, "I think I can get Mike Amadio to come on the show," right? And of course, it says Canada, the Stanley Cup. If you get any member of the Cup to come on your podcast and chat about what happened, it'd be great. And sure enough, he came through, he joined us, and it was a great conversation, a lot of fun. I think he was up in Thunder Bay at the time, was he?
He was traveling across Canada from the West Coast to eventually end up in Sault Ste. Marie.
And what's great about his story, right, is like he's the local boy who, was a superstar as a little kid, played AAA, all those things, and then went on to star in North Bay. So he stayed in Northern Ontario for his OHL career, right? And has had a good career, but he had a super great play. I think he's got 10 points in the Stanley Cup final.
I think he had 16 points in the playoffs, 8 goals, 8 assists.
Yeah.
I can't remember what his plus minus was, but it was just stellar.
Yeah, no, it was great. And just to be able to have him join us and chat, it's kind of every kid's dream is to be able to do that. And, off camera, I have my son jumped on the Zoom, the FaceTime call just to say hi to him at the beginning. Remember? I said, "We'll jump on this call." And Mike was great. It was lovely to chat with him. So, it was great.
It was. Stanley Cup winner, Michael Amadio.
It is kind of cliche, right? But obviously, a whole bunch of pieces have to come together for a team to win a championship at any sport, right? Whether it's baseball, hockey, whatever it is.
Sure.
What was it about this group you think that had all the pieces to get to this level?
I think off the ice it started with our locker room. I think everyone just gelled so well together. We had a good group of guys. Everyone knew their role, and then on the ice, I think we just had a very deep team where it didn't matter who was out there. Everybody went out, did their job, and had a role to do, and they did it.
I know this question is probably a cliche and one that you've answered 100 times, but how heavy is the Stanley Cup?
I I think it's only like 35 pounds, but it feels a lot lighter when you lift it up there for the first time.
Did you kind of have it planned in your mind? We all kind of imagine, but when you actually get it in your hands, you're not sure what to do with it, or do you know what you're going to do?
Yeah, I don't think I knew what I was going to do with it. I don't even know if I think I just wanted not to fall on the ice with it. I think that was the only thing I was thinking of. But yeah, I don't even remember the moment. It goes by so fast. So just try to enjoy it.
Yeah. Have you watched yourself do it? If someone showed you clips of it?
Yeah, a few of my buddies had it recorded and sent it to me after. So that was pretty cool to rewatch.
Speaking of buddies, I mean, your phone must have been blown up when you walked in the locker room after the game.
Yeah, my friends and family, past teammates, past coaches and stuff. A bunch of people reached out to me, which was pretty cool. So it took me a few days to get back to everybody, but I think I finally made it.
Yeah, Michael was a wonderful interview. And the city of Sault Ste. Marie actually had a Michael Amadio day when he had his day with the Stanley Cup. We were there hanging out with him. It was lots of fun. And here's an update. He and his wife just had a beautiful, healthy baby girl.
Really? Oh, congratulations.
And named her Scotty.
They did? After you?
Well.
Did they really name him Scotty?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm not making it up.
Do you know what the story is?
I don't know the backstory.
So we can just say it's because of you.
Well, yeah.
We can.
We can.
That's 2 times he hung out with you. Once in the interview and then at the Gardens with the...
Who's going to prove us wrong?
Yeah. Hey.
All right, let's...
wait, before we go, did you know, is he signed yet? Is he back with the Knights, or was he still
I haven't heard. Derek, do you know? He's looking up right now.
By the time we finish this show, we'll find out.
We will have an answer.
Because I know he wanted to stick around with the Knights, and he fit in great there. It'd be great. Can you imagine playing hockey in Las Vegas? Like, I mean, even though they won the Stanley Cup, Mike could probably walk around Las Vegas and no one would ever stop him.
Well, it's like playing in South Florida.
Yeah,
Same thing.
No one would ever stop you and say, "Oh my God, it's Mike Amadio from the Golden Knights," even though they might even be a Golden Knights fan, right?
No.
Whereas if you're in Toronto and you're, Austin Matthews, you can't go anywhere.
No. Or Willie Nylander. I mean, he can ride the subway.
Yeah, did you see that?
The guy sitting beside Nylander, and we're getting off topic, but it's a funny story.
What was the Nylander coming up next?
What was that there?
No new contract.
No new contract. Sitting on the subway, heading to Scotiabank Arena for a game, beside a guy with a Leafs hat on. The guy was oblivious to the fact that Nylander was sitting beside him.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Does he take the subway every game?
I don't know if he takes it every game, but I read that he takes it fairly regularly.
All right. Well, we've run out of time, so good show.
That's right. See you next year.
See you next year.
All right, let's stick with hockey and our most popular guest in 2023, the legendary Ron MacLean from Hockey Night in Canada.
He was our most popular. A lot of people tuned in.
Yep.
Well, you know what? He's one of those people that everybody recognized. And, I think I enjoyed this conversation with Ron. We talked about a lot of different things. We did talk about Don Cherry, but we talked about a whole bunch of other things and just about where he sees himself at this point in his career. We asked him some tough questions as well. But just the idea that he was very open and honest with everything we asked him. And I often think there's a little bit of a burden being a guy like him, right? Because you talk about being recognized, right? But he's also scrutinized everything he says, and everyone has an opinion about hockey, and in some cases politics as well, that come up at Hockey Night in Canada. But I really enjoyed that conversation. And again, it was you that got Ron MacLean. So far, I've booked none of these guests.
Well, eventually, if you throw enough stuff against the wall, eventually something's got to stick.
That was great.
It was a great chat with Ron MacLean. Ron, the Rogers deal, and you and I spoke about it extensively last year, ends with the 2025-26 season. And at that time, your hope was let's get through this, and then we'll reevaluate career-wise. Anything change? Is that still the goal?
No. I have a year after this, Scott, on my contract, which would mean there'd be 2 years remaining on the Rogers deal that I don't have a contract for.
Okay.
My sort of thinking. Well, we'll have to. I mean, the company will make all these decisions, but in my world, if I'm, I do sometimes look at myself in promos and think, good grief, you're Waldorf and Sandler up there. It's not fair to the viewer to be dragging this on. But on the other side, I pray that, where would we be if we didn't kind of pay attention to Mozart and Shakespeare and the old ones? So that's always in my head is, when is the right time to step aside and let somebody else have the reins? And I would say in a year's time, if not sooner, and even in these playoffs, David Amber and I are sort of co-anchoring so that he has a full presence on the telecasts and a chance to, feel his worth and value. That's very important to, have a succession plan for a company and even for us as colleagues. I don't mind playing on the fourth line. So that would be kind of the way I'd look at it. If in a year they were to come to me and say, okay, Ron, why don't you be Andy Rooney or Jack Whittaker or Alan Fotheringham, any of these folks who kind of just have a back page or a cameo role, but a presence, so that I'm employed and feel like, again, valued and worthwhile and have a purpose, but not necessarily have to be the person that's considered the main anchor.
That's it. You feel like you'll come to that decision when the moment comes, right, Ron?
I think, or it'll be out of my hands. Like I never planned, Michael, I don't know how you are, but I never planned a thing, not a thing. Everything was like a call out of the blue to go to a radio station, a call out of the blue to apply for the Flames gig, a call out of the blue to go to Hockey Night in Canada. Never once did I send a resume anywhere. Mm-hmm. And never once did I apply to go to school. Nothing. It's just like one of these foolish right place, right time lives. And not to jinx it, but, I kind of... And it's not that I'm fatalistic, but I truly believe it's okay if someone else. I'm not clinging or attached. Let's put it that way. Someone else can make that call.
Yeah, he was a wonderful conversation, and you mentioned how transparent he is. He's really an open book, and we've had the chance to talk to Ron a couple of times. And I remember the first time that I interviewed him, I wanted to be able to follow up with him. To do another follow-up interview. And I said to him, so should I just go through, Sportsnet to arrange it? And he just kind of shook his head and said, no. He said, do you got a pen handy? And I do. And he gave me his personal cell number to just stay in touch. That's the kind of guy that he is. Don't go through all the red tape. Yeah. If you need me to do something or you want an interview or you need a soundbite, just shoot me a text and I'm happy to do it.
Are we putting his cell number on the screen?
That's right. We'll flash that. To reach Ron McLeod, call 416.
I'm sure he doesn't get enough texts and enough emails from people, right?
But just he's a wonderful conversation. He's an open book, and he is so well versed in so many different things.
That's what I was going to say. He can throw out facts about this guy playing in small town Manitoba, or he played in northern BC. And I know that's a passion of his, but it's amazing that he knows, even when he mentioned Mike Amadio, he knew all his background, right?
Yeah.
He knew about the fact he's from the Sioux, played for the battalion. Like, it was pretty wild.
And if I recall, and Derek, you may remember that when we first interviewed Ron, and we talked about, prepping for Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday, which for him typically starts on a Monday. And I think he said it was an hour of prep for 10 minutes of content.
Yeah.
Like the ratio was just wild, but that's why he's so...
Well, look how much we prep for this show, and it gets nowhere. Like, it's a great show, but it gets nowhere near the viewership of Hockey Night in Canada. But
no,
we still try to.
It's close.
We try to put some prep. You got to know what you're talking about.
And
we'll get there one day.
One day we will, but it goes to show you the level of commitment that you need to make to get to where he is. Okay, let's get a break in here. Derek's saying we've got to step away for a minute, so let's do that. When we come back, we're going to talk about broken leg guitar players and Bigfoot and a few other things when we return on Inside the Village, the year that was 2023 after this.
Reporters, editors, and journalists who go the extra mile to get the story and get it right. Go behind the scenes with those who cover the stories that matter most to you and your community. Look for it in the Village Features section of your favorite Village Media website across Ontario.
Welcome back to part 2 of the year-ender of Inside the Village with Michael Friscolanti, Derek Turner. I'm Scott Sexsmith. It's not very often through the season that we have repeat guests. However, there are exceptions to every rule.
Yeah, this guy is definitely the exception.
And Ryan Willis from the Sasquatch...
Trent University Sasquatch Society, right?
Right.
Yes. So we had him on season 1. Did we have him on? And then... again, for a lighter side episode, definitely talk about the society, how popular it's become, and how they had put out the word that they wanted people in all these different communities, including a whole bunch where we have newsrooms, putting out a call that they're looking for people who have tips for them. So I think it was Sean Gibson and Barry who wrote an initial story about these guys, right? And it got a ton of attention. So we invited him to come on the show, and he was just hilarious, right? Just the way he talked and his passion for Bigfoot and how he got started. And then he frantically calls us, and he started emailing and calling, about a year later, saying that he had this TV deal with Wild TV, and there's 13 episodes, and it was going to run, and I've got huge news. I want to talk to you guys, and this is an exclusive place to come on Inside the Village, right? So we, like you said, we don't usually just bring people on.
No.
Like if Ron McLean wanted to come on again, we'd have to see about it. We're not sure, right? But this guy, we had to say, okay, Ryan Willis, we'll let you come back on and talk about Bigfoot, and it didn't disappoint.
The one and only Ryan Willis, the founder and president of the Trent Sasquatch Society from Trent University, is on the line. Ryan, good to see you, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. We got some cool stuff to tell you about, and I'm very glad to be here for a three-peat. It's kind of like a hat trick for you guys, eh?
Yeah, this is big. This is big stuff. Big stuff. Now, so last time we chatted with you, you had a TV show coming up, right? You were working on a show what was it called again?
Wild TV, Sasquatch University on the Wild TV network.
That's right. And you've got your first episode coming out next week.
Yeah. So it comes out at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Wild TV network and Wild TV Plus on September 25th.
All right, and you found some evidence.
Oh yeah.
All right,
we actually got lots in the show. It won't be your average walk around the woods kind of Bigfoot show. We actually got some pretty cool stuff. And
give us the goods, Ryan. What have you discovered?
So we got one of my favorites is a cool audio recording a woman got. Actually taken from her porch out in Grey Bruce, and we cover that in the show and investigate it and have some people look at it. And so I think people will really love that bit because it's one heck of a howl. It's really something. And then we got a cool video a guy sent us of one walking through a forest, and so we checked that out in the show too, obviously. Some trail cam pictures taken up from North Bay, and some pictures, some tracks, and then we got more coming. But we're saving that for some of the later episodes. But the first half of the season kind of covers these bits that I'll send you guys after this call. But you guys will love them.
Exclusive.
Okay, so I want to get this straight. You have actual video footage of Sasquatch.
Yeah. We didn't take it, but we have it. We've been got permission to use it in the show, share it with you guys, all of that good stuff.
How is it granular? Is that the word?
Grainy.
How grainy is the video?
It's pretty good actually, especially for being a Bigfoot video. It's pretty good quality, and you can get a pretty good look at the thing. So I'd say it's a high quality one by Bigfoot standards for sure.
Every summer, the city of Sault Ste. Marie holds the Sault's Summer Festival, entitled Rotary Fest, and this year kicked off with a bit of a bang, and a guest that appeared on the show, Mike Haggith.
Yeah, we stressed the word kicked off, I guess, eh? This is one of those hilarious stories of a video that went viral. It could have been in any city.
Yep.
But Mike was playing with his band, and he's in song 2, I think he was, and he had his leg up on, he's playing the guitar, things are going great. And all of a sudden he falls down in like horrific pain, and he's like writhing on the ground, but he keeps playing as if he's like some guitarist sliding along the floor or something.
Angus
right?
Young? Angus Young.
Yeah. And so you think he's doing his Angus Young impersonation, but he's really thought he broke his knee, but he finished the damn song, which was just it was unbelievable, right? So this happened at nighttime, obviously. So by the next morning, all these people were emailing us or texting us and Facebooking us this link saying, check this out, this guy, he thought he broke his leg and he finished the song, right? So by the end, the live stream is still showing him like cheering as he goes into the ambulance. It was pretty funny, right? So we had Mike on to tell the whole story. He lives in Barrie, where we have Barrie today. He was playing in the Sioux, where we have Sioux today, and it was a funny conversation.
Feeling good leading up to the show? Everything seemed normal?
I was feeling great. Like we had done so much work going into this thing. It had just been nonstop for months leading up to it, right? All leading up to this moment. And I was excited to just forget about all the garbage that I'd been doing behind the scenes to, facilitate all of this. And I was excited to just go up and play. The band was tight. We were ready, feeling good. This was our moment.
And how many songs in did all hell break loose?
2 songs in. We were 8 minutes into the set.
Oh my All right, walk us through it.
Yeah, so what happened here?
Oh man, so we stepped on stage. Everything was great. We were the opening act for Rotary 100. So they had just made their opening announcements. They introduced, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Step into the mystical world of Mike Haggett or something like that. I forget exactly what the promo said. And then we jogged right on, picked up the guitar. Boom, we're right into it. We do the first song, All You Do, which is largely acoustic number. I'm kind of up there. I'm leading the charge. I'm thinking my voice sounds good tonight. I'm feeling great. I got a Gatorade down there if I need to hydrate. And it just, everything leading up to it just felt so right. And I even thought to myself in that moment, man, look at all of this. Nothing can take away from this.
All right. We'll end the show there. That was great.
Oh, man. So then song number 2, Hot and Cold. And man, the full band, we're into it. We crash in. It's a really cool tune. A lot of energy, a lot of momentum. There are 2 guitar solo sections. Chris, our lead guitarist, is just killing it. Everything is going great. We're just about done the second guitar solo section, and I think, well, okay, I'm doing my little kind of cursory walk around the stage and go up to Chris and play next to him, go up to Jake, our bassist, play next to him, and then I go back and say hey to our buddy Brandon on the drums, and kind of say hey to him, and the solo section's wrapping up, the song's about to wrap up. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll turn around, I'll go back up to the front of the stage, and we'll crash out the big ending chords. And then we're on to the next 9 songs, and everything's great. And then I have 1 foot up on the drum riser, 1 foot down on the stage. And I don't know exactly how it happened. I felt like maybe the heel of my shoe got caught on something, but maybe I just started turning awkwardly. I had my weight distributed a little weird, something. Anyway, next thing I know, my body's turning and my leg is not. And before I know exactly it's so fast that you don't have time to process. And the next thing I knew, my knee snapped and I'm going down.
Yikes.
So I had 2 thoughts in that moment.
I think I know what one of them would be.
The first thought was, this is Chris's guitar. Do not smash the guitar. And so I kind of tucked and rolled and tucked my arms in and came crashing down. Not a scratch on the guitar.
It was impressive how you felt. That was impressive.
Pure luck or the furthest thing from it. I don't know what you call it. And then my second thought was, you got to be kidding me, man. Yeah. Everything leading up to this, and it's ruined.
All right. I don't want to go back to the pandemic, but let's for a moment. To me, there were 2 individuals that kind of got the world through COVID-19. One was Stuart Reynolds, Brittle Star, with his wonderful videos. Friend of the show, we've had Brittle Star on.
Maybe he's another one we should think about having on twice.
We should have it. We should follow up with Stuart. The second, and it was just an absolute joy to have him in this room, Gurdeep Pander of the Yukon, a wonderful Bhangra dancer.
Yeah, do you remember Gurdeep when the pandemic first hit? He was already doing YouTube videos of his Bhangra dancing, but they really went viral after the pandemic hit. He was trying, preaching positivity and joy and trying to find hope in the situation. And again, we record this in Sault Ste. Marie. That's where the head office of Village Media is. So Gurdeep was on one of his joy, hope, and positivity tours where he was driving around Ontario, meeting various people, spreading his message of joy and positivity. He's a super positive guy, obviously. So Alex Flood, one of our reporters, went and covered his event at Bellevue Park, had people up dancing and, teaching how to Bhangra dance. And I asked Alex, can you ask him if he'll come on Inside the Village tomorrow morning before he leaves? And he's like, he said, okay, no problem. He texted me, I can come on. I'm leaving early. I said, no problem. We'll come in whenever it's good for you. So I said, text me when you're pulling in. So he texted me, goes, I'm 5 minutes away. I'm like, okay, perfect. I told him where I was. So I go outside, and I'm like, I hope I can recognize this guy's car when he pulls in. This white van turns the corner, and on the big sign of like Gurdeep's Joy, Hope, and Positivity Tour. Like it was like the traveling circus. I was like, oh, come on in. This is where we are, right? So he came in, and I could tell you, like, the office lit up when he walked in because everybody knew who he was, right? And the office was packed. So we introduced him. We gave him the tour of the office, introduced him to everybody. And I can't remember, did he dance with the staff after
did.
We did do it after?
It was after, yeah.
So we did the show down here. We had a great conversation about staying positive. We talked about, all the people who reached out to him, saying how they helped, his videos helped them get through certain different things. And, we even asked him, like, how the hell do you stay so positive? Like, sometimes things suck, right?
Yep.
How do you stay positive?
Yep.
Great conversation. And then he goes upstairs and banger dances with the whole staff upstairs, right? And it was amazing, right? Just one of those moments.
Yeah, he's a wonderful individual and certainly full of joy, hope, and positivity.
You're so positive and trying to preach that positivity to other people, right? But there must be moments, even maybe when you're driving on this road trip down a lonely highway, that
you need joy.
Yeah, you need joy. How do you find it?
I usually people ask me these kind of questions. This is amazing question. I would say that. Thanks for asking. I feel that we humans, we are product of different emotions. Sometimes we are joyful, some other times we are not. Sometimes we are in between. Sometimes we are sad, maybe a bit angry, or some new kind of emotion. Because emotions are not 3 or 4 times; they are 100 types of emotions. Yes, being a human, I have my moments when I am not that much joyful. I'm going through some moment of reflection or some moment of brief sadness too. So I experience it every day from time to time. How I find it, I strongly believe in this philosophy of moving on. I find that. Yes, things happen in our life. Sometimes we lose things. Sometimes we are in a situation when our health is not cooperating, or other things happen, financial loss, loss of a family member or dear friend or something like that. We grieve, and it's okay to grieve, and it's important to grieve because we had a very important connection with someone. But it's important to come back. So moving on is very important. So I find my joy moving on. Even if I had lost something, I process and I dance. I dance to clear my mind because it really helps. Physical activity, it really helps clearing your mind, and it brings me to the place where I am joyful again. I am happy again. So it's okay to be sad, but don't stay sad for a long time. You can be sad for 1 hour, 2 hours, or 1 day, or maybe 2 days if something's really serious going on. But you come back to your home of joy.
And just for the record, I got Gurdeep on the show.
You did.
He was a guest that I booked.
That's teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. I think the next guest was me too. See, I bring something.
All right,
to
you can stop.
I bring something to the new table as well, right?
Catherine Martinko authored the book Childhood Unplugged, and the story is her 14-year-old son, probably one of few 14-year-olds in Canada or anywhere for that matter, was not allowed and is not allowed at this point to have his own wireless device.
Yeah, and this is what triggered my attention to this story was when I saw a review of her book. I don't remember if I read it in the Globe or where I read it, but it's the same conversation people who have kids my age are having all the time, because we see the negative impacts of these phones, just how they lose themselves in them. They seem to always have them in their hands, and I just think there's a case to be made that we have to do a better balance of these things. I don't know how you do it. Being a parent is difficult in this age with phones, but I wanted to have that conversation with her, and it ended up being an awesome chat because she sticks to her guns, right? She had some real strong opinions and actually had some reasonable tactics on how to do it. It was a great conversation. Obviously, your book offers some advice to parents. What are some big pieces of advice on how to limit the amount of screen time the kids are getting?
Well, I just say delay. So really, I prefer just to not even hand over the devices at all if you can. I think that's the easiest. If the devices are out of sight, they're out of mind. When kids when kids do not see an iPad sitting on a table, they're not going to have that dopamine surge, that desire to pick it up. And if they don't have a predictable time every single day, I think that that's a good thing too, because they don't have that anticipation. So I say save the devices for rainy days. They should be a special occasion. My kids do get to watch movies. They watch shows on Netflix. Sometimes they will play some online video games, but that happens, when the weather's bad, when I really need a break. It's not something that they expect on a regular basis. Parents need to model good behavior. That's another big point that I think is not discussed often enough. We can lament the amount of time that our kids are on their devices, but if we also are on our phones for 5-6 hours a day, you don't really have a leg to stand on with that argument. So, I think it's important for parents to put in the time to develop offline hobbies and interests, and also to help enrich their children's offline lives. So you can't take away the devices and just expect the kids to know what to do in the remaining time that there is. You do need to put in effort. You have to play outside. You need to, get them reading books. You need to have conversations with them, have friends over, make their offline life stimulating so that they don't feel they're missing out.
I was just wondering from your son's perspective, does he get bugged about it from his friend group?
He does not hear about it so much from the friend group. I mean, there's offhand comments. He does not love the fact that he doesn't have a phone, to be clear. This is an ongoing point of contention, as I mentioned in the Globe and Mail op-ed that was published yesterday. He does want one, and we talk about it. It's an ongoing conversation. But I also think that parents have the right to create their home culture and to do what they believe to be best for their kid, not necessarily what their kid wants or what everyone else is doing. So there will come a time when he gets a phone. I'm waiting for the Lite phone to come out, actually, in Canada. It's supposed to come out this fall, and it is a phone that looks like a smartphone, but it just doesn't support internet or social media apps, but it has everything else. So he'd be able to have music on it and podcasts, and he'd be able to text and call and all these other things. So
and that's a good compromise, I think.
Yeah.
There are absolutely compromises out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll hear from him next week. He's coming on the show next week.
I understand her point of view as a parent. I'm torn, though.
Why?
Well, if you've got a 14-year-old, and we all have kids, I like the convenience of being able to reach them when I need to reach them. But she shuts that right down.
But do they answer you?
Well, that's the other thing.
So my kid's got a phone.
Yeah.
Right? If I text him, it's like 1 out of 10 times. It's like me and you. If you text me, it's 1 out of 10 times. I'm gonna write you back. So,
and here's the frustrating thing: is their phone is in their hand.
Yeah, it's because that's all they do is look at it.
Oh, it's dad.
Right. But here's the thing for me, and again, I am no expert, but many teachers I know are talking about this. They have these rules in school where you can't have your phones, but kids have their phones all day.
Yes,
they're in their hands. They're in class. They're at lunch, so they're all walking around like this, and I'm not a researcher or an expert in these things, but the more these kids are constantly needing that instant content, instant gratification, it's harder for them to understand how to actually do something more in depth than actually maybe like read a play or read a novel or do something like that. And I do think, and I know the Toronto District School Board is debating it right now. There's a school trustee there who wants to ban cell phones from the schools.
Wow.
And so it's up for debate in the new year, and I think a lot of parents would get on board with that. To be honest, if the school principal said to me and said to everybody, we are banning phones as of today, I'd be like, right on. Leave your phone at home. Like, how hard, as Catherine said, how hard is, where's your kid going that you can't, we survived.
We did.
No one knew where we were half the time.
Came home when the street lights
came home, and maybe that's part of the problem. And then, isn't there an argument to be made, this may be stupid, most of the things I say are, but are the kids too protected? Like, they know that, oh my God, I could text my mom and dad or whoever anytime. Like, put your phone away, go in the world and catch a bus, get lost. You'll make your way home. Like, I that's where I come down on it.
I will say this. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Friscolanti household when dad says to the kids, put your phone down and read a play.
Yeah, exactly. Read some Shakespeare. No, but it's English. In English class, they're supposed to read Hamlet or something, right?
Yeah,
they
or something.
You're supposed to do that kind of stuff. I'm doing that tonight. We're reading Julius Caesar tonight at the table. I'm gonna live stream it.
You should. Yeah. We can.
Friends, Romans, countrymen.
We can add some B-roll to the show.
Send me your beers.
And on that note, gentlemen, I think it's time that we wrap it up and put a bow on the year that was 2023. As always, it's been a wonderful year. We've had some wonderful guests. We've covered some tragedies. We've covered some great news. We've covered breaking news. And I can't wait to see what next year brings.
Well, I'll put it this way: when we were looking at the list of all the episodes we did this year to try to figure out what we wanted to talk about on these end of year shows, I was blown away by how much stuff there was there. We did a lot of really fascinating shows, interesting shows, newsworthy shows. So I think that speaks for itself, and it's been a ball, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast, and look, truth be told, you and I have the easy job. We show up, sit down, and talk. It's Derek that does all the heavy lifting and piecing this thing together for us week in and week out.
Absolutely.
So Derek, thank you. Happy holidays, gentlemen. We'll pick it up again the week of January 10th, 2024 here on Inside the Village. Happy holidays to everyone.
You've been listening to Inside the Village.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe, provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.